might begin with a few questions. The first question would be to Sébastien. How do you define the sandbox, and how do you see the future of the sandbox? We did that a bit earlier. That was fascinating.
Hello, everyone. So for those of you who now still don't know what is a sandbox, we're building this gaming open metaverse where anyone can make 3D assets as well as game experiences and monetize them through the use of NFTs and blockchain. We're helping to bring brands, project, community together and play, socialize, create, work, learn, earn, and do many other cool things through experience and through avatars. What do I see for the future of Sandbox? We have a long roadmap, a real one.
Big question.
I'll try to keep it short. We've been delivering for the past 4 years as pioneers in the space the various creation tools of the platform, so you could create cool content, sell them on the marketplace. You can own your own land on the map. We launched last month the first alpha season, which gave a first overview, first taste of what Play2EARN, Play and Earn could be in the metaverse. And we are going to accelerate that, launching more seasons, involving partners, involving user-generated content. We're going to let anyone publish on their land and launch their very own Play2EARN season as well, introduce the governance, and move everything to layer 2. And then we hope we'll keep growing fast, big, and we'll leave our footprint in the space.
Thank you, Sébastien. You're also president of the Blockchain Game Alliance. If I'm not wrong, there are now less than 5 million, or maybe around 5 million to 10 million blockchain gamers. The overall number of gamers is more than 2.5 billion video game. Do you think when does that be mainstream? And how can we make this community grow larger with the same values?
So you're right. Like there's about 2.7 billion gamers across all platforms so far, and there's like roughly 8-9 billion people. So there's still a large avenue for growth there. I think like what blockchain gaming and Web3 brings is not necessarily trying to convert every single gamer on Earth to Web3. That might come as, well, we're seeing more and more gaming studios from the smallest indies to the larger company doing something related to NFTs and Play2EARN this year, which is a big shift from what we've seen just last year. But I think also like Web3, decentralization, tokens, communities, it's enabling new kind of gameplays, and it's allowing people who were not gamer before to actually enjoy games, start earning or learning and do other things in a different manner. So we might very well see like a large part of the population which was totally not playing before now being involved, shifting a bit the balance of power, not necessarily always the top 5 US, Korea, China, Japan countries which been leading the gaming market before, to be leading that next generation of games.
Thank you, Sébastien. Max, so you're co-creator of Dogami, and you're working with a French, Swiss, Austrian team. That's very interesting. And Ubisoft just announced a few weeks ago that it's invested in Dogami. My question would be about the digital ownership in gaming. Why NFTs in gaming are so powerful, to your opinion?
I think for everyone who is a gamer in here, and especially when you have played World of Warcraft or Guild Wars, so MMORPGs, you know that in-game assets have value. So when you grind, for example, in a dungeon with friends for 8 hours on a Saturday, and you then open the loot box and you win something from that loot box, it's a great sense of accomplishment and achievement. And how it worked back in the day is there were like, you would sell those items, for example, on eBay, or you would just trade with other people. And now with NFTs, can actually create a liquid market for these in-game assets that you need hours and hours and hours to win. And I think that makes it such a compelling use case for NFTs from a player's perspective.
Thank you so much.
If I may, on that topic, well, there's definitely a shift in back in the days when you were trying to sell something on eBay from World of Warcraft, you may get banned. Well, now NFTs is bringing you back this ownership of those assets, and that's absolutely awesome to be able to be rewarded for what you've done in the game by something you really own. But it also comes with interoperability, and you have those NFTs in your wallet, and you get to log yourself in on Sandbox or Comet or other games with this wallet. And so you're bringing in to those other games the universe that you've created for yourself in your previous games. And that's your experience that you bring from one game to another that extend completely how you experience the next games. And I think it's a very interesting ways of putting new kinds of game on the market, because recently the online games that we've been playing were a bit like create your own adventure, like meet people and create your own adventure. But now you are not only creating your own adventure, but also bringing in your previous universe, your previous background, everything that you've accumulated from other games, or maybe you haven't finished this game on Dogami, and you know he has finished it. So I want to buy this asset that proves that I finished it because I want to show my friends that I care about this. So it's an extension of your gaming experience that you can show to the other people that you are playing with and your friends and family, and that's absolutely great. And I expect also to have people offering to their friends, like, hey, this is this amazing achievement that I got. I want to offer this to you. And it's extending the way we create social links inside the metaverse.
Thank you, Jerome. And I think interoperability is very important to Max's mind as well. Sebastian, you wanted to say something?
Just one thing, like beyond, it's very true for game asset, etc. But I think like beyond that, the avatar, just being able to bring your avatar, your game character into so many of those games and do not have to start from scratch, defining your identity and who you are across those games. It's a very powerful value proposition that, well, like I like to see become more and more broadly accepted and put into games.
Long live the PFPs.
Yes.
Thank you.
Not the one we saw before, please.
Yeah, and to build on interoperability, I think it's also nice that when you have an achievement in one game or an asset in one game, that you can take it to another virtual world. And so, I mean, Sandbox is the best example. You build something there, and they could theoretically, if the other application supports it as well, take it over there, and they can't stop you from doing that. So you really own your data, and that's amazing. So personally, we are building currently a bridge from Tezos to Ethereum, so that we can bridge over into other universes with our dogs. And this is the first stepping stone to the realization of the metaverse, right? You need a virtual interactive environment, and NFTs are a critical building stone for that.
Thank you. Brian, so you're co-founder of Screenshot, based in both Paris and Los Angeles. And my main question for you would be, what, to your opinion, are the pillars of the future blockchain community gaming industry?
Yeah. Welcome everyone, and thank you very much for the event. By the way, it's awesome. Congrats to the team that organized this. Super happy to be able to talk with all you guys here about this and to represent Screenshot, because it's me today, but I have all my team which is behind me as well, and we are trying to make the best work we can. But just to speak really, I think in terms of like the games that we are trying to make at Screenshot is that just at first, like we need to consider that the biggest media right now is the video games out of all the media industry, and it's representing right now 2.7, as you said, billion people, and it's just going to keep increase, right? So we are in one of the most biggest industry in the world, and it's going to keep going on this way. And before and foremost, in my opinion, even we speak about the vision that we have for the future. It's about first trying to create fun games, because this is what's going to make the difference in the end. We want to create fun games because we're going to attract people. They're going to stay there. We're going to create communities. And so the pillar for me for what we need to do, us as the companies that are going to try to make those difference, is like first try to make fun games, which is most probably one of the hardest thing to do. To be honest.
Yeah.
The second thing is like to create community, in my opinion. So all of us here, I think we all will agree that the fact that we are here because our communities push us and help us every day. And if you all see, and most of you guys I know are maybe following some projects or whatever, it's such an inspirational thing to be builders right now on our ecosystem, because the community is pushing us, making fan arts, making we have people that are working for my company that I don't even ask them to work for, and they do the work still, even though I say I cannot thank you, So it's kind of those incredible things that happen in our ecosystem where people are passionate and they spend time for us, and it's just outstanding. So first, fun games, community, and then I will speak about mostly like a subjective thing, which is the design as well. So as said John just before, and I think it's really accurate, we need to try to create a universe to onboard people with us and to make them go throughout something that is appealing visually as well, which is kind of a really hard thing to do because it's super subjective. And one of the last thing, and most probably one of the hardest thing that we need to work on, is the token economics, which is for all of us as well, mostly R&D things. And we, in my opinion, we just need to accept that we are, pioneers. And with pioneers come risks, and those risks we are taking them, and we are trying to build and iterate and to make the best things the fastest possible. But in my opinion, if we do all those things right, we could really make a difference on what's going to come.
Thank you. Do you agree, Jérôme, on these token economics, maybe?
Yeah, well, it's definitely something that we all need to work on. If anyone has the magic recipe, like our booth is over there. Tell us about it. And I'm glad to see the academics starting to chime in, mainly just to analyze what's going on blockchain protocols. And I expect those academic papers to have good applications in gaming, because we can do really applied economics in open economies that we create in visual games. That being said, it's oftentimes something that is talked about a lot during investors' meeting. They come to you and say, okay, but what are the economics? Are there any tokens? Like, will we get any tokens? And how will the token be distributed? And you're like, well, we have a token, or maybe we don't, or maybe we will. Well, if you have one, we need to make sure that it's in the term sheet. We want to make sure that we have the token. Okay, but suddenly they start to ask, like, what will be the token distribution? And you can provide any answer that you want about the token distribution. Nobody really look at how the model works. What are the implications of, what are the parameters? Like how many players, what is the token distribution for X players? What is the token distribution for this activity? Basic things that as an economist, my background is in economics, I would first think about, like, what are the main parameters to consider, and let's try to put a plus sign on things that will give us better things, and a minus sign on things that will give us less good thing, and try to see if we can at least maximize every parameters that are positive. Although right now we have very few examples of things that are truly successful. Like I know we had some very successful projects from a valuation perspective, from an attraction perspective. Although, will they stand in 5 years? Will they stand in 10 years? If we look at a license like anything that comes out of Nintendo, you can have 40 years of good games and character branding building. Like the good examples that we've seen before in the past few years in the token blockchain games, I'm not sure that those models are going to stand, but that's also the beauty of being pioneers. Like we may fail, we may win, we may also have hiccups and then correct. And I guess the open source aspect of the open source roots of everything that we've been doing so far is going to help us build stronger together. And I'm glad to see the academics chiming in. And I know that this very conference is organized by student associations from various schools, and those schools are now having blockchain professors or blockchain professionals coming to speak about this. So there's definitely really beautiful things ahead of us.
Thank you. If you look, if we look at what just happened a few days ago in the traditional world, I may say, Microsoft acquiring Activision.
Oh, yes.
Do you think the world or the worlds that you are creating right now, how do you see the big tech in this? Do you think the distribution of the video games will go from app stores, we just discussed that with Sebastian a few minutes ago, to other worlds where the guilds can have more power? And do you see a more distributed way of playing games and creating games, maybe owning games? Maybe the player's gonna own a bit of the games. Sebastian.
I think like once you give more power to the user, more value to the user through tokens, more power to the communities, and it's really shifting the balance of like how games can be discovered, etc. The app stores are no longer the middlemen that brings those games to the players. Typically, now people are discovering NFTs, project community through marketplaces, mostly OpenSea, but more other marketplaces like La Collection before, or other into specialized niches. I also think like guilds and guilds of guilds are, or DAOs even to some extent, are playing a massive role into like educating people, so bringing new people into the space through, they even call them scholars. They have scholarship program, and they have huge human capital that they can bring to those games, as long as the game also have something of value to offer to them in counterpart, like good tokenomics, where like leveraging NFTs is going to generate a certain yield, a certain return for having like this symbiotic value. And ultimately, and we've seen that before into many technological disruption, like if the existing stores, like we've seen Steam banning NFT games, that's, in my opinion, a very bad move from them. Yeah. And
how do you
App
explain
Store,
that?
Google Play stores, they haven't, or Epic stores, they haven't really taken any position except not, beside not really allowing token-based game. The first one who will decide to embrace it, I think, will finally be moving into the Web3 direction and might move the market. If not, well, just like the dinosaur extinction, it will be slow, painful, but it will ultimately happen.
Mm-hmm. How do you explain some of them are banning? They're afraid of what? What do you think, Brian or
well,
Jérôme?
Just about what you said before on the Amazon, Microsoft buying Blizzard and Activision. I think it's the end of the loop. Famously, Vitalik Buterin, creator of Ethereum, explained on his blog that he decided to create open computing power, decided to getting interested into blockchain and think about Ethereum once he was playing World of Warcraft. So a very famous game from Blizzard Activision. And from one day to the next, his favorite characters got nerfed. Like the spell of his favorite characters got nerfed. And he was like, "Well, I didn't take part of this decision. I wasn't even consulted. I didn't know it was happening. Like, what the heck? All my months and time invested in building up this character suddenly got nerfed. Well, thanks to blockchain now, we can involve the players with DAOs, with balancing, and so on. But now that's like World of Warcraft has been redefining a lot as how you build up MMORPG economies and how you engage the players and so on. Famously banning people from selling things outside of the game itself. And now it's like, well, we should buy Blizzard to build the biggest metaverse and start to embrace this. So it's really a good sign to see this happening.
In a way, we could say thanks to them, because we exist because they did bad things. They didn't really respect their community and players.
Thank you. Max, maybe?
Yeah, I think it's also right now important to understand that the current gaming market, 2/3 of it come from mobile gaming. And that obviously is dominated by Apple and Android. And especially Apple has like this reputation of being very restrictive in terms of their market policies. And I think they'll only start moving once the market becomes so big that they can't ignore it anymore. And yeah, I think it takes like a lot of consolidation on one end, on the player side, that they will move away from their policies.
Yeah, I think there are many people that are asking themselves for whether the big ones are going to get into the game of Web3 and when they are going to come, because it's going to make all the difference. I think there is a lot of regulatory problem that they're gonna need to be facing first, and maybe they are kind of afraid of those things, and they want maybe other players to take those bets instead of them, and because this is basically the most challenging part that will come over the next years for us, that what's gonna come on the regulatory aspects. And I think it's going to be way different according to the region you are going to be worldwide with your company. And we see all the movement we try to do already to optimize us as we are right now, all of us, those different things about the tokens, about the games, how do we actually make this possible? And so I think those companies prefer first like trying to let the other players try and maybe move with them and allow them to help them. Like I think Alex is a good example, maybe with that with Ubisoft. And but for sure, at some point they're gonna come in when they are going to feel comfortable with that. But I think it's not gonna happen straight ahead.
Yeah, and just to build on what you said, like we didn't need the financial system or the banks to build Bitcoin. It's just happened, and it will continue to strive despite them liking it or not. I really don't expect blockchain game to slow down if. Steam says no, never, not on my backyard. If Epic Games say the same, not on my backyard. If, famously, Axie Infinity just spread their applications on mobile by just sending the APK. You don't even find it in the store, and it worked because people want to play. We are at a stage where if you cannot, let's say we are look at 30 years before that. If you wanted to be a game on Super Nintendo, you need to get the Nintendo seal of approval. Right, you cannot have a cartridge sold for Super Nintendo if you didn't get the Nintendo seal of approval. Right now, if you want to build a game, you just distribute the game. You find many ways to distribute the games. All those distribution channels are already there. And we have good wallets on our phones, on our desktop. Everything is aligning for the players to have profiles that are being used from one game to the next without any restrictions. So the barriers to entry and the gates that some of those stores have put in place to serve lots of their margin are certainly about to fall. Perhaps very slowly, perhaps very fast, but it's starting to crack.
Thank you. So anyone can ask any question to Sébastien, Max, Brian, and Jérôme. I just have one in the meantime. For you guys, again, you're inventing new words. It's very exciting. If you look at a longer term perspective, we spoke about some new ways of earning some money, maybe creating games, maybe owning a little bit of it. Do you think you might invent, we spoke about that with Decentraland, for example, a new way of living our democracy? Could we have voting rights for players? Could we invent new ways of participating to new citizenship, maybe a new way of experiencing things?
I can't wait for a party to engage with future voters going online, join a Discord and pitch your next program for the presidential election. Maybe if the last elections were super influenced by people lobbying on Facebook, it should happen also in the metaverse really soon.
Sébastien?
Many people are starting to see the sandbox as a new digital nation, actually. Now the technology is pretty mature, and through ownership, indeed, people can contribute, can make decisions, etc. We have that technology available. We provide on our platform the different assets that represent yourself, your identity through the avatar, your piece of land where you can have your house, your business, your game asset, which you can use to do multiple things. They have true utility. And your currency, which is not just a currency, it's a utility token with multiple purposes. And it's all decentralized, so it can be built not just by us. Anyone can start implementing governance, implementing those mechanics. So I really wish it's going to happen, and we'll make our best to support that.
Thank you.
And I think there's an interesting aspect there because it professionalizes playing. So making a living through games is not reserved only to pro players, but actually also to normal players. And I mean, notoriously, people in the Philippines quit their jobs to play Axie Infinity, so that the Prime Minister had said that these income has to be taxed, and it goes that far. And it's also a huge opportunity for developing nations like in Venezuela, where they have like hyperinflation. I think it's always hard to understand those aspects when you live in Europe, and especially in the Western developed world. But when you look to developing nations, it poses a huge opportunity.
Thank you.
Well, I have a crazy idea. I run for president.
Good
and
announcement.
then I said, well, guys, here's the pitch. I'm going to airdrop you a token, and I'm going to make this token a legal tender for you to pay your tax with. Who's going to stop me for airdropping this and just paying people for voting for me or voting for this thing? I guess when we are going to see this kind of thing happen, or this kind of things looming, it's kind of threat to normal functioning of a democracy, then we will have other kinds of problems. But may or may not happen.
Are you still hesitating, Jerome? Or?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
You should create your own social token and start that.
Start with the social token and then airdrop it to anyone that proves that he has voted for you.
But Sebastian, I had the chance to speak with you 2 days ago also, and you told me things are accelerating, right? Because we spoke about the Decentraland, some demos of against the price of real estate, for example, and but you see this aspiration of the participants of Sandbox to have their words right on the future they want to create.
Just today at this conference, and versus what it was 1 year ago, it's just amazing to see all that creative energy and like how every one of you with your very own project into any area, whether it's fashion, architecture, art, gaming, and more, you're able to use those tools and provide value to your community, to your project, through interoperability, through providing a space where they can socialize, through creating complementary experiences, new form of art as well, which are being exposed. So, yeah, I think it's definitely accelerating. We're just talking a matter of months now, and I'm seeing it concretely in front of my eyes.
Yeah, and I saw great artists. Some are still here, like Lapin Mignon. Brian, what do you see in terms of the new games coming, the creators you're helping, and in your studio? Do you see some trends in the?
I think it's really as well the game studio creation. I think it's really as well related to what kind of games you want to make, because it's gonna address a really different typology of people, and all of this is really kind of defined. I think the card are kind of rebalanced as well. You know, as we spoke earlier, there are more and more people playing on their mobile phone instead of the console and the computer. There is as well like more people on the Southeast Asia that are getting this massive, really massive population that are going to start to play, and that we really need to take in considerations. And so for me, as I said, the main things for us is like trying to find fun games that are going to make us able to make millions of people play on our games. And this is the biggest thing. And as you said earlier about the vision for the future and how do we think communities are going to build in those games, I think this decentralization aspect that you're talking about here, when you say people are going to be contributing into the games themselves, I think it's really depending what the typology of game. I think what are building Sandbox and Seb is amazing, because they are like just like letting everyone build what they want to build, and they are populating this environment according to the users. I think in the typology of games that we are building as Screenshot, it's more games that we need initially to have a first kick of a first vision and the games that we are trying to build, and towards the game we build, we are going to try to make the community make votes, make decisions towards the game, but there is a little bit of a difference depending on the typology of the games we spoke about. So I think this is really depending on the people, the vision that we have, all of us. I think here we have definitely different vision of how we're going to build the games. I don't think there is a good thing, a bad thing. I think there is just different ways. There is different populations to address. And yeah, in the end, it's just about trying to make the huge difference.
Thank you, guys. Maybe one quick last question to the four of you. Will hardware, for example, augmented reality glasses, we spoke this morning about the skin that, you know, Carnegie Mellon University wants to create. Will that be important, or we don't need new hardware to have great games and create the blockchain games of the future? Sebastian?
I think technology is important. Like, every new technology is going to bring a potentially different way to immerse ourselves into experience, to try new format of games. It's my whole entrepreneur's life has been based on that. Like, the first sandbox 11 years ago came to birth because smartphone came, and anyone suddenly just from the touch of their finger on touchscreen could start interacting, like playing by touching. That feels kind of normal right now, but before it was magic. With Web3, the technology disruption is more around the concept of ownership and bringing value to the people who are actually contributing to creating content or contributing through other forms of presence, of engagement, etc. VR, AR, other interaction, they might create definitely a new leap for other people to interact, for people to find new vocation, to create new kind of jobs. So yep, I'm very bullish toward like technology enabling new business model and making a positive impact overall.
Thank you.
I think as well, it's for me, it's really analytical part here that I'm gonna say, but for me, like, it's about commodity as well, right? And the world is like 7 and 8 billion people right now, and what are the commodity? What are the things that they have in their hand that allow them to play or allow them to interact throughout the Web3? And mostly, in my opinion, it's two things. It's internet first, which is getting more and more common everywhere in the world, and the second thing is the thing that you have in your pocket, which is the smartphone, right? And I think through this, you can reach just an incredible amount of people. And for me, this is the first target that actually we should address, because this is we're gonna touch and we're gonna impact the most people there. And all the sort of different hardware, for sure, it's so interesting. But the thing I think is, until there won't be really democratized in the sense of price and accessibility, this will still, you know, really be addressing a specific amount of people, and you know, not thought as a global perspective.
Yeah, you're right. Speaking about accessibility, I think less than 55% of the world population has access to internet, by the way. But that's just great to speak with you guys. Do we have one question, or maybe one here? I see one.
Hello. Hi. Hello, my name is David. So I had a big question about funding. It's a key component, I think, of all the projects you are building and everybody is building. And you have like different type of funding. More and more retail investors are getting into the space thanks to Launchpad, IDO, and everything. And we also have like this more traditional VC approach with a lot of like different active VC and recent ROIs. So there has been this debate. We all saw on Twitter, like, you don't own Web3 and everything, because some were criticizing like the influence of venture capitalists. And you also have like for me, a third funding, which is kind of like the one like Tezos is doing, like big blockchains that want IP, content creator, to build on their technology, and so giving like a blank check for everybody to build on their tech. And so I just wanted to ask your diverse and different opinion about that, because I know you all have different type of funding. Merci.
Thank you. Sebastian?
I see multiple questions and maybe multiple underlying problem to your question. On one side, you're talking about like mostly like competition between platform and blockchain somehow, for like trying to dominate the market through attracting more builder, creator, etc. And one way to achieve that is indeed to provide grants and to try to get projects to support an ecosystem, to launch, educate, etc. And I believe like doing so through either supporting directly developers or bringing brands are two different strategies, which we've seen working in the past on other platform and technology. We don't know yet what will be the outcome, but it's interesting to see those things at play right now. The first part of the question was more related, I think, like towards like as a blockchain-based project, should you raise funds more towards equity or towards token, and where is the value actually accruing on your project? So who gets access to what between your community and your investors? And here again, there's no perfect answers. It really depends on like how do you design essentially the tokenomics if you do have a token, and what kind of rights does it confer to your users? What kind of value does it confer to your users as well? And if you don't have a token yet, who do you want in your project to actually have ownership over the different pieces and part of your project? The team, the technology, the content you produce, the NFTs you might produce as well. And I don't have like a perfect recipe for everything. It really depends project to project.
I'd like to add a point about the competition between blockchains. I mean, blockchains are a complete network product, right? So if one standard gets adopted a lot, it tends to accrue even more market share in the long run. And I think that's a big risk if one player gets too dominant. However, I also think that cross-chain in the future is going to be, the thing. And I don't think that in 5 to 10 years from now, people are going to think, oh, I'm going to be on Ethereum mainnet or on Tezos or on Solana. I think it's just there, and it's going to happen everything under the hood, so to say. And those are my 2 cents.
Actually, for a fun fact, like most of the platforms that won before were not necessarily the best technologically. They were very often the best on the marketing side somehow. So food for thought for blockchain ecosystems.
Okay, well, maybe food for thought for project builders. Grants are great. Grants are great, but an engineer that works on a project and works on the blockchain part of a project is going to cost you at least 150K fully charged in France, something like this. How many people do you think you're going to need to put the blockchain inside your project? Maybe 3, 4, 5. So that's 600,000. If a blockchain ecosystem is giving you 600,000 to pay completely for the development of your blockchain part, then that's great. Like you get your blockchain budget covered, let's say. If you get anything less than that, you will expect to have more things to pay for yourself in order to integrate this blockchain that you've committed to integrate with. Now, in front of you, there is a market of different blockchains to build on. So pick the one that you will have the most traction on, I guess, because this is how you are going to get your first users, your first players, and so on. And that's not really easy. There's no definitive answer on this. It depends completely on what kind of things you are building, on what kind of tool you are building. That being said, in your project, there's many ways to finance your project. I personally believe on giving ownership to the people building it. And that's the thing I mostly care about, because that's what's keeping us alive despite market cycles, ups and downs. When people feel that they own what they are doing and they give their passion in what they are building, it shows for the people that are playing, and it's, I think, a good way to have a long-lasting project.
Thank you, Jérôme. That's Alex just tells me, maybe very quickly, Brian, you want to add something?
Well, I think there is 2 points. I think I'm really following Max on this interoperability perspective of trying to, anyway, on the long term, trying to make the ecosystem the more accessible for every type of blockchain you make. I think we make different decisions here on working on Ethereum or Tezos, and me on ZK rollups on Starkware. But I think it's just a decision that will, in the end, as you said, for the objective is like trying. What is your last objective? trying to get the most players, people playing on your project. This is what is the most important. And on the financial side, I think it's more as well about incentivizing the good people with you to be able to build it in the end. And so it's not about like, you can make token, you can make VCs. I think all of them anyway are financing and making this possible. And we wouldn't be there actually if those people wouldn't follow us. And so I think it's whatever it's a token or it's a financial people, it's just about who you are surrounded with, and makes you able to concretize your vision.
Thank you so much. Alex just told me that's all the time we have for. That was just great to have you. Sébastien, Max, Brian, and Jérôme. I hope next time we speak about Web 4 or Web 5. Thank you so much, guys.